Hi, I'm Sneha. I'm the founder of Money Whispers, and we're here to get honest around the scary topic of money. And I get the honor of introducing Kiki Couchman. You'll also know her as the girl who quit her job in private equity to start a yogurt company with her best friend, Couchwoman, on the socials.
Mm-hmm.
But really, just to give some context as to why I'm doing this, it's really because I feel like money is like such a stigmatized topic to talk about, especially with women, and I think it's like such a central theme to entrepreneurship, and you just gotta get fucking real about it. So here we are. But before we even get into all of that, I want to ask you about your backstory. Like, who are you?
Great question. Okay, so you already gave me a nice introduction. I am Kiki Couchman, better known as Couchwoman on Instagram.
Which I love.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Some people haven't gotten it yet, but
I actually thought that was your last name for like the longest
Kiki
time.
Couchwoman,
Yeah.
that would be so sick.
Yeah,
right?
so good.
I'm just like, let's rebrand that whole thing.
Exactly.
So I'm Couchwoman on Instagram, but I am building a yogurt company called Beny. We are at Eat Beny on Instagram with my best friend, Elan. I did just quit my job in private equity.
Woo! Honestly,
And-
congratulations.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
fucking
you.
amazing.
I had been there for 4.5 years.
Yeah.
I know. I am originally from California. I grew up in Northern California in agriculture. My dad grew up on a dairy farm. So this is a bit of a full circle moment for me.
Yeah.
Went to Stanford and I studied human biology. I graduated in 2020 and was always interested in like the food, health, food as medicine space,
Yeah.
but knew I wanted to really cut my teeth in something a little bit more. There was a place for sort of training in my career and whatever
Yeah.
that looked like. And so I wanted to be at a slightly bigger firm with a pretty fast pace,
Yeah.
with a really good manager to really learn before I ever did something out on my own or something a little bit different. So I worked in private equity for the past 4.5
Yeah.
years. And earlier this year, just, Alana and I are best friends, my co-founder, and we were thinking about what's the impact we really want to have on this world. And we both have had our own health journeys, but really she has been, the mastermind behind the yogurt. This
Yeah.
is her product. And she started a few years ago, really realizing her microbiome was the critical driver of so many other issues in her body. She was experiencing extreme bloating, mind fog, like all of these things that many of us just experience on a day-to-day basis, but don't even think
We
about
just like
it.
ignore it also,
Yes.
right?
Or
Yeah.
we like down cups of coffee
Exactly.
to like put the
To
brain
numb the
fog
pain,
away.
yeah.
Exactly. And she was like, this is not normal, I think, right?
Yeah.
This is not actually normal. And so realized I'm missing some critical good probiotics in my gut.
Yeah.
Why don't I just eat yogurt? Yogurt is probiotic. Incredible. Turns out most yogurt actually isn't probiotic. And if it is, it's not actually with there you go. It's
That's
not
crazy.
actually with the probiotics that many of us need, and many of us are deficient in. And so yogurts, there's a few reasons why yogurts aren't probiotic. Number one, they are made with live and active cultures, which is a niche difference between probiotics and live and active cultures.
Okay.
They're both bacteria that's alive.
Yeah.
Probiotics, though, has been proven to have a meaningful impact on your gut. Versus live.
So like
and active,
probiotics are like a subset of live cultures.
yes,
Okay.
it's like a square rectangle situation.
Ooh, that's a good way to explain it. Okay. Okay.
And so yogurt is made with live and active cultures that basically takes the milk and turns it into really great tasting yogurt. But it's not actually meant to be like amazing for your body or for your gut. It's not bad or harmful.
I feel like this is tea. I feel like you're spilling the tea about yogurt right now. Okay.
And there is some yogurt that is probiotic. Like you'll see probiotic on it, and there's specific strains that they use, and good for them, right? We're using different strains as well in addition to that. The second thing is a lot of, big yogurt brands, maybe Chobani, maybe Faye, they pasteurize before and after it's cultured. So culturing means you take that good and live bacteria, you put it in the milk, you grow it, and the milk turns into yogurt. Pasteurizing is when they heat it up really high, a high temperature, to kill bacteria. And so they pasteurize it before they make it into yogurt and after. So if you actually, put it together they're killing all the bacteria after they make yogurt,
so
which means there's nothing left.
And bad bacteria.
Yes,
too.
exactly.
Okay.
And the reason they do that is it makes it more shelf stable and it has a longer shelf life, all those sorts of things. But what that means is there's actually not really any good bacteria for your gut. So point is,
Damn.
Elan went down this rabbit hole, realized I need to start making yogurt at home with the
Yeah.
good probiotics that I need as a human.
Good
And
on her for being so intentional.
I know, and also making yogurt. It's
Yeah,
kind of like a
that's
crazy,
a crazy thing to
it's
do.
like,
Yeah.
it's not incredibly hard, but it's just like, it's another
I know. I have
level.
some friends that make kombucha, and I'm like, you go out of your way to
Totally.
do that? I'm
We
like,
already have to take care of ourselves. And
Yeah,
now we have to go do that.
I know.
Yeah. So anyway, she started doing that and saw incredible benefits. Sleep quality difference. She used to be always bloated. That completely went away. Her skin looks amazing. She always has amazing skin, but still glowing, all of those sorts of
Yeah.
things.
Man.
And never thought twice about it. It was just like, I'm just going to continue to make this for myself. And for, I lived with her at one point, so I had it for a while and got to reap the benefits. And then this year, when we really thought about what we wanted to do with our lives, we realized, let's scale this incredible thing that's worked so well for us. Why can't we scale it to so many other people and make this an accessible product where you can have yogurt and make the good choice for your gut and do something good for
Wow.
yourself. So
Just the good stuff.
just the good stuff.
Wait,
Exactly.
I love that. Oh my God. Wait, that's such a. I feel like I was going to ask you the elevator pitch, but you kind of just gave it to me.
Oh my
That
God, I
was
just
so
gave
good.
it to you. Sorry about that.
Wait, I also I caught on to the fact that you like studied biology and then you went into private equity and then now you're starting a yogurt company. Like that's so diverse.
There you
like,
go.
Tell me
And-
about that. Like what made you go from like biology to private equity to now like starting a yogurt company?
Yeah. I mean, I would say that the biology and the yogurt company is pretty tied.
Yeah, that's true. It's like full circle, I guess. Yeah.
Well, part of it is like I am a nerd and easily bored, and I just like love the dynamic learning of it. And so I chose human biology. I had no idea what I wanted to major in at Stanford.
Yeah.
I chose Stanford because I saw all these different majors that were extremely innovative and dynamic and not just sort of like the normal English, history, computer science, economics, right? Like that you see in a lot of more traditional
It's like more
institutions.
application based.
It's more application based and it's much more interdisciplinary. So human biology itself meshed the healthcare, human systems, psychology, developmental biology, anatomy, physiology, human nutrition, all of these things. And so to me that was a much more interesting path. And private equity could be said to be a blip, but for me it was a really, again, interesting learning playground where I got to learn about so many different types of companies, how they're run, what are the right decisions to make, what does leadership look like, what does a good leadership look like in all these companies, what is an exit program, all these sorts of questions.
Which is kind of crucial to know.
Yeah. And let's be clear, I wasn't like, I'm starting a yogurt company and this is my path. And it was, now it makes sense.
Well, I feel like in retrospect, it always makes sense, right? But then, like, when you're doing it, you're kind of like, I'm winging it. Like, I want to do this, and I'm just going to go for it, right?
100%. Incredible. Turns out most yogurt actually isn't probiotic. And if it is, it's not actually with the, there you go. It's not actually with the probiotics that many of us need and many of us are deficient in. And so yogurts, there's a few reasons why yogurts aren't probiotic. Number one, they are made with live and active cultures, which is a niche difference between probiotics and live and active cultures.
Okay.
They're both bacteria that's alive.
Yeah.
Probiotics, though, has been proven to have a meaningful impact on your gut. Versus live.
So, like, probiotics are like a subset of live cultures.
Yes. Okay. It's like a square rectangle situation.
Ooh, that's a good way to explain it. Okay. Okay.
And so yogurt is made with live and active cultures that basically takes the milk and turns it into really great tasting yogurt. But it's not actually meant to be like amazing for your body or for your gut. It's not bad or harmful.
I feel like this is tea. I feel like you're spilling the tea about yogurt right now. Okay.
And there is some yogurt that is probiotic. Like you'll see probiotic on it and there's specific strains that they use and good for them, right? We're using different strains as well in addition to that. The second thing is a lot of, big yogurt brands, maybe Chobani, maybe Daye, they pasteurize before and after it's cultured. So culturing means you take that good and live bacteria, you put it in the milk, you grow it, and the milk turns into yogurt. Pasteurizing is when they heat it up really high, a high temperature, to kill bacteria. And so they pasteurize it before they make it into yogurt and after. So if you actually, put it together they're killing all the bacteria after they make yogurt,
so
which means there's nothing left.
And bad bacteria.
Yes,
too.
exactly.
Okay.
And the reason they do that is it makes it more shelf stable and it has a longer shelf life, all those sorts of things. But what that means is there's actually not really any good bacteria for your gut. So point is, Elan went down this rabbit hole, realized I need to start making yogurt at home with the good probiotics that I need as a human.
Good
And
on her for being so intentional.
I know, and also making yogurt.
Yeah,
kind of like a
that's
crazy,
a crazy thing to do.
like,
yeah,
it's not incredibly hard, but it's just like, it's another
I know. I have
level.
some friends that make kombucha, and I'm like, you go out of your way
Totally
to like, do that. I'm
we
like,
already have to take care of ourselves, and
Yeah,
now we have to go do that.
I know.
Yeah. So anyway, she started doing that and saw incredible benefits. Sleep quality difference. She used to be always bloated. That completely went away. Her skin looks amazing. She always has amazing skin, but still glowing, all of those sorts of
Yeah.
things.
Man.
And never thought twice about it. It was just like, I'm just going to continue to make this for myself. And for, I lived with her at one point, so I had it for a while and got to reap the benefits. And then this year, when we really thought about what we wanted to do with our lives, we realized, let's scale this incredible thing that's worked so well for us. Why can't we scale it to so many other people and make this an accessible product where you can have yogurt and make the good choice for your gut and do something good for
Wow.
yourself. So
Just the good stuff.
just the good stuff.
Wait,
Exactly.
I love that. Oh my God. Wait, that's such a. I feel like I was going to ask you the elevator pitch, but you kind of just gave it to me.
Oh my
That
God, I
was
just
so
gave
good.
it to you. Sorry about that.
Wait, I also I caught on to the fact that you like studied biology and then you went into private equity and then now you're starting a yogurt company. Like that's so diverse.
There you
like,
go.
Tell me
And-
about that. Like why so many like different fields? And like what made you go from like biology to private equity to now like starting a yogurt company?
Yeah. I mean, I would say that the biology and the yogurt company is pretty tied.
Yeah, that's true. It's like full circle, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, part of it is like I am a nerd and easily bored, and I just like love the dynamic learning of it. And so I chose human biology. I had no idea what I wanted to major in at Stanford.
Yeah.
I chose Stanford because I saw all these different majors that were extremely innovative and dynamic and not just sort of like the normal English, history, computer science, economics, right? Like that you see in a lot of more traditional
It's like more
institutions.
application based. Yeah.
It's more application based and it's much more interdisciplinary. So
True.
human biology itself meshed the, healthcare, human systems, psychology, developmental biology, anatomy, physiology, human nutrition, all of these things.
Yeah.
And so to me, that was a much more interesting path.
Yeah.
And, private equity could be said to be a blip, but for me, it was a really, again, interesting learning playground where I got to learn about so many different types of companies, how they're run, what are the right decisions to make, what does leadership look like, what does a good leadership look like in all these companies, what is an exit program, all these sorts of questions.
Which is kind of crucial
Yeah. And let's be clear, I wasn't like, I'm starting a yogurt company and this is my path. And now here. Like, it was, now it makes sense.
Well, I feel like in retrospect, it always makes sense, right? But then, like, when you're doing it, you're kind of like, I'm winging it. Like, I want to do this, and I'm just going to go for it, right?
100%. I mean, the thing that I always tell people, and I think it's still super true, even with what I'm doing with Elan, is like, I chose my first job based on my manager. And I was like,
dude, manager makes such a big difference.
Such a big difference. I mean, yes, people, the broader people you work with, but I actually think particularly as women in careers, no matter where you are, I knew I don't care what job I get. I know that my manager has to be so deeply invested in me. They want me to win. And I think that they're really kick-ass and smart because I want to learn from them. Yeah. And then I can do whatever. Yeah, and like, who knows? It was my first job. I stayed for 4.5 years, which is longer than a lot of people stay at their first job.
I get that because I'm reaching 4.5 years now. And people are just like, Sneha, like, I thought you would have changed at like 2 years. And I'm like, no, but like, I feel like getting that experience is like, not wasted.
Totally. Yeah. And then similar with Elan, it's like there was a lot of people I could start a company with, but she's somebody that together I know that I have a lot to learn from her. She has a lot to learn from me. We're complementary in a lot of ways. Yeah. And I'm like, we will get better because we are working together. In the same way that I feel like I mean, there's so many decisions in life that I make driven by that sort of matrix of who it is that I'm working with.
Well, I also like partnerships for so many different things is like one of the most important like decisions you make in your life, whether it's like romantic, like friends, but also like a co-founder is essentially a marriage, which we will get to eventually. But I do like want to talk about just like those dynamics and how that kind of fits into the relationship with money. Before we get into that though, I do want to ask you about like, how do you think you're going to use your experience from private equity in like a CPG brand? CPG is consumer packaged good.
Yes. So it's a good question. I mean, I didn't really work on anything CPG. So like in my private equity experience. So I wouldn't say that it's like the most applicable in that way. What I will say is I got extreme breadth of a lot of different companies and how they operate. And I think that was the most influential and impactful. I was 22. I was coming in and I was working with a lot of CEOs. I was on our portfolio operations team. And so it's post-close. So how do we create value in these companies once we like
we own them? Sign the deal, essentially.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I got to see how that works. But the other part of it is I had to influence a lot of much more tenured, much more senior people across our entire portfolio. So executive teams, those were the main people I was interfacing with. And I was the person who was almost like a consultant on the ground helping them. And that is something that I think I learned a ton from, is how do you create influence across a broader landscape in an area that you may not have an expertise in.
That is such a good soft skill to learn.
And that's what I'm like, I think my soft skills from that have been the most transferable and helpful.
I feel like I can see that in like you like right now too, where it's like you are like, I feel like you come into a room and you're like, I'm here and I'm ready, like, but not in a way where it's like arrogant, like you're like ready to command presence, you know what I mean? Which is like amazing.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing. And I think about that in the most like cheesy way, I guess, with social media. It's like and expand it beyond that with this CPG good, it's consumer. So every single person is a potential customer. When you're working in a B2B SaaS company or something like that, no, there's like big accounts, right? There's enterprise accounts. Not every single individual is a potential customer. What we're working in is, it has to be every single individual. And so I have to approach the world by influencing and thinking about, how do I align all these stakeholders? Each consumer is a stakeholder in my business. How do I make sure they feel bought in? How do I make sure they want me to win? How do I make sure they feel like I'm actually driving value for them? And so all those things I think about when I think about what is the message we're communicating? How do I present to the world? How does the brand present to the world? How do we just continue growing that so we can expand that reach from 5,000 people to 20,000 people to 100 to 1 million people? Because I think that will actually be the key to the success here.
I feel like, and the cool part about this is like just like scale. Like you and Elan got to like, or I guess Elan and then you, and then like you're really just like making sure people can just have good health.
Exactly.
And we love that.
That's all we care about.
Yeah. Amazing. So we're gonna transition into the core of the interview, which is about our relationship with money. And so I want to ask you, like, what was money like growing up? Like, how did you guys talk about it? How was like the upbringing around it?
It's a great question. It's something that I like think about and don't think about, I guess, right?
Yeah,
like no one's ever asked me explicitly. So
and that's why I find it so interesting, because I'm like, people like see money like every single day and it's a part of their everyday life, right?
100%.
Like you're like, I'm in this apartment, I pay rent, I like go on the subway, I have to pay like $2.90, whatever. But it's kind of just like, you like, especially with like Apple Pay, like this kind of stuff just becomes kind of like
in the
back of mind, right?
Totally.
But then you think about it and you're like, oh my God, like I do have a relationship with money. It is emotional. So like, I'm curious.
So my mom is an immigrant. She was born in China and then she moved to San Francisco, and her family grew up in San Francisco. But that has completely influenced her way of viewing money, and I would say has been passed on to me in a big way.
As it does.
Of course. Obviously, generational trauma. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. And I think that's always been extremely imparted on me, is the value of money and working hard. And like, even if that doesn't translate necessarily into a big amount of dollars, are you working hard? And is this a lifestyle? Just know the lifestyle and within the means that you are able to live. And so there was never sort of, that was like the biggest thing, is like, work hard. Know you have to get this much money. Like that's it. And my dad was also a founder. He started a company. And so I think that was also another part of this, was like, he had to work really hard and he had to grind on that. And so I saw that both, and I knew that there was never a pressure to, Kiki, you have to make a ton of money, but there was definitely a pressure I felt of being ambitious meant making a lot of money. And being successful meant making a lot of money. And I think I've lived my whole life sort of in that flywheel of got to be top of my class, got to go to, if you're going to be top of your class in high school, you got to go to Stanford, right? Then you're at Stanford, you better be working in a successful field. And then
Yeah,
And
that
then
term
keep
like
going.
success is such an interesting, like,
Totally.
what does that actually mean to you? Because like I feel like when you leave high school and you leave college, like there's these like very like it's kind of like metrics, right? But then you're like 25 and you're like, what do those metrics like even mean anymore? You know?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And I think that's where I've gotten to. It's like this quarter life crisis.
Oh,
totally, right?
I
Of
totally get
realizing
that.
like,
Yeah.
oh wait, no one's out here measuring
Yeah.
how much I'm making or how successful I am or my promotion track. Like actually, no one gives a shit. It's only just for me. And so what is the life that I actually want to live? What's the amount of money that will allow me to live that life?
Yeah.
And then like, how do I want to be spending my days and my hours? And
Yeah.
and I think if you can make all those start to fit together in a good way, like to me, that's what a successful life is. But it's taken a bit of
trial and error
and rejiggering in my mind,
yeah, of
right?
course, yeah.
Yeah.
I totally get that. I also like there's always this phrase of like time is money and money is time. And I'm like, I feel like they're both the equivalent, right? Like you need to have some form of like to survive, you need money. Like to you like realistically, you can't just like just sit around. But then also like time is so valuable. Like you go to your job for 8 hours a day or more,
100.
and you're like, I don't want my brain just rotting away. Like I want to feel like I'm feeling intellectually stimulated. So how you balance like money and time, very interesting, like philosophical question.
It is.
You know?
It is. It's
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know what the answer is.
I'm
trying to figure it out.
25, 26. We're 26.
We're 26.
Have basically a quarter life crisis.
Yes.
Do you find yourself to be like someone who's like risk seeking or risk averse? I know these are such hard questions. That's why money is so hard, guys.
Like I would say risk averse, and now I'm like, but I'm doing a crazy risky thing. You know?
Yeah. But you know, the funny thing I find about all this is that like you can be risk averse and still start a company by taking calculated risks.
100%.
You know?
Yes. Also, I keep saying 100%.
No, I get that. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, whatever. We have phrases. We have a little quirks.
We have our little ticks. You know? I definitely am more risk averse. And I went to Stanford. I keep saying that, but I'm like, everybody, I was in the water to start.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, it's like entrepreneurship, like Wonderland.
And there's so many boys who just start a company out of nowhere. And I think there's that risk thing in it.
Yeah.
And I knew for me, first of all, I always thought, no way am I going to start a company. It's not that I don't believe in myself, but like what makes Kiki the best positioned person to start X company? I don't know that there is something. Now I found something that I care so much about. I feel so deeply passionate about. And I actually do think that I am one of the right people.
Yeah, like you're well equipped to do this. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. You also have to have a little bit of that delulu.
You
know what I mean?
I know.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
It's just been hard for me because I'm like an extreme rationalist. Like I'm always calculating that. Yep, completely. But I think to your risk averse point, like I needed these 4.5 years to feel completely competent and ready and confident to start and do something on my own. I would not have been able to do this right out of Stanford. And honestly, it wouldn't have felt good either. Like now I feel like I have a career to fall back on. If everything goes to shit with Beny Yogurt and, you know, we do this for 5 years and it doesn't result in any value, which is not going to happen, but yeah. Right. But of course, this is a calculated risk. Of course, right? Of course. So like, then I already have this 4.5 years of a career. Of course. That, you know, it doesn't poof go away. It's going to be a little outdated, but there is something there with it.
Yeah, I find it really interesting also because people are like, oh, like you're never going to be ready to like start something, especially when it's like, it is something like you're like kind of letting go of everything that you know to be stable, to do something on your own, go and like build with that momentum. But I do think there's a certain level of like, you need to feel okay with like how like you perceive yourself also and like what you're going out to build. So I understand that point. Yeah. Yeah.
I think you're never going to be ready. That's a very big point. And something I think about a lot is the risk calculation with my time horizon. I think as a woman, like that's something that
dude, so important.
Yes. Money, like health, bodies, our female body, like all those things. I'm
like fucking ticking time clock, man.
It is.
Yeah.
And like, I do want to have a family and I would love to have a family and be able to have that option. Maybe I don't down the line, but you know, where I stand right now and knowing that I'm going to have to work really, really hard on making this thing successful. Yeah. I got to start now. I want to have 5 years in front of me to really go pedal to the metal
Yeah.
as fast as I can and not have to worry about supporting anyone other than myself.
I know, just like you rely on yourself, and
Yeah.
that's really it.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, obviously anyone can start a company at any time, but just for me, this felt like the right time where I felt like I had some leeway in front of me.
Of course. And I feel like also, I think there's this like saying where like if you start something like after 28, it's kind of like you let life get ahead of you. And there are very many.
Oh my goch, I've never heard that.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I didn't like to scare you. Well, you did it before 28.
Thank you.
So
oh my gosh,
amazing.
who says that? What's the thing?
But I do want to say, like, I do think there's so many people that do it in their 30s or 40s, even their 60s. Like, there are amazing people that do that.
Mhm.
I will say that, like, it just is very easy for excuses to come in the way, like, once you get older, because it's like family. It's not even really excuses. It's just like,
No, it's very real responsibility.
Yeah.
Trust me,
hard.
I have no responsibility other than paying my rent.
Yes,
and
exactly.
feeding myself.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. No, and I get that.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like, well, I guess that kind of goes back to like calculated risk. Like, there are probably things you had to plan for before like you left your job. So like, what kinds of things did you plan for?
Yeah. I mean, it was very calculated that I left at the end of the year. Like, that's when we get our bonus.
Totally.
So that was a very important thing. And I knew that Alana and I are bootstrapping this company. And so we are not looking for outside capital at this time. Maybe there'll be a time down the line when we're looking for an infusion. But right now, we think that we can try and build this and create as much value on our own without that. And so what that means, though, is that we need to both support ourselves as individuals, like we're not taking a salary from this, of course, and put in money to actually making the company. There's plenty of expenses that go along with the CPG and any company.
Yeah.
So the timing was a very calculated thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, we need to get our bonus, put this in, thinking about how much allocation there. Then also, we both thought about what are other ways that we can sort of high impact, high reward, low time ways that we can get some cash flow coming in. Totally. And so that was something that we had of a goal as at the end of 2024, let's make sure that we have a way to recoup like 75% of our rent or 50%, just some sort
like
of
some metric,
so that way we have much more time horizon in front of us to work on Beny Yogurt, and we don't have to feel constrained by raising money or whatever it might be.
And also you have some form of autonomy. Like, you don't need to give up part of your company and have other people have a say.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And so that was like a very calculated thing, is how do we extend the time horizon that we can work on Beny Yogurt by maybe giving up a few hours of our day right now to other things so we can get some cash flow in.
And I feel like you also started your content like while you were at your job, right? And I feel like that helped a lot with like jumpstarting a lot of just like everything for eBeny, right?
Oh my gosh. I wasn't like I posted on Instagram like as a normal human being, like prior to this. Yeah. But I never made content. I am not in marketing. I've never done that. I like paint and I love art. And so in some ways the visuals can translate, but not at all, actually, now that I say that out loud. But I knew that was a big thing. We are a perishable good. And so we need to outpace demand before we're on any shelf, right? Because once we're on a shelf, we've got a shelf life, and we can't just hang out and, in your cupboard for 10 years.
Yeah, it's like not shelf stable.
But it's not shelf stable. Yeah. And so we need to outpace with our demand. And we knew that social media could be one channel in which we can do that. I had no idea. I feel like a total convert. I'm like, wow, social media is amazing. Obviously, there's so many conversations right now about censorship and all these things and not going away and blah, blah, blah. And it does create a lot of harm. But for actually the founder community and for CPG and being new to the space, I have had such an incredible inbound of support of people in this network who want to help out, who want to connect me to people. Yeah. And it's really helped us get a running start in a lot of ways. And so I feel like endlessly grateful. And that's a huge engine that I want to keep driving and growing and learning. And there's a lot to learn.
Yeah. It's crazy because I feel like social media, like once you actually start doing it, you see the good of humanity too. Because I feel like when you're kind of on the outskirts of it, you're like, fuck social media, like the attention economy, like everyone's just doing things just to like, and of course there's like trolls. Good and bad to everything. There's there's everything. Everything exists out there. Yeah. But I feel like, especially even as like I've started too, like I only know Kiki because I like DM'd her on Instagram. I was like, your content is dope. And here we are. Like, she's literally sitting in my apartment and we're like interviewing right now, which is so cool.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah. So props to you.
Thank
I
you.
fully agree with everything that you're saying.
Thank you.
I did want to ask you about you have a co-founder, Elan, who's
do.
also your bestie,
She
which
is
I
my
love.
bestie. Mm-hmm.
How has that been having like a co-founder? Like we talked about that, like a co-founder is kind of like a marriage of some sorts.
Yes.
And like a good co-founder relationship is founded on like radical communication and honesty, as well as like talking about the hardship, which is like one of them is money, right?
Totally.
Like, so like, how do you navigate that with Elan?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say there's even like a navigation that has to happen. It's very much just, we just talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that there's some friendships and relationships where it does have to feel like, oh, we have to have this hard conversation or like, a confrontation type dynamic. And with Elan, it never feels like
natural.
that way. It feels very natural. And from the beginning, back in May, when we first sort of had the genesis of this idea, we talked about that. We said, how are we going to fund this? What are we thinking about? Like, we both need to support ourselves. How do we do this? And we are very clear. What's the amount of money that we want to put in? How is that going to grow? What do we think about? How are we going to take out loans? Just all these questions. And we just brought that up at the very front. In addition to like, how much value could this company actually create? And is that an outcome that we both would want and feel comfortable with versus working at a normal
That's
job?
a very important question to
which
ask.
is a very important question. And so I think those were all conversations we had up front before officially shaking on it, which was really important. And those continue to, come up and happen all the time. In addition to actually getting very clear about our relationship. So we had, this was technically week 1 of our full time.
Yeah.
And so on Monday, we talked a lot about what does it mean to be best friends and co-founders? Mm-hmm. We've seen it. You can see it go south. You can see it do incredibly well. There's, all the in-between spectrum. And we've been very clear with each other. We want to be best friends first, and then we're co-founders. Yeah. And this will be our baby. It's almost like we're parents, right?
I was literally going to say, like, you're co-parenting right now.
100%. Yeah. We're parents, and we're pouring everything into this thing, and we want to both make it succeed. But what happens when that thing goes away? We want to make sure that we are still each other's best friend.
That identity still remains beyond the company.
Exactly. So we're already thinking about ways in which we can do that. It's really easy to be completely absorbed, and that's the only thing we talk about. But we're trying to almost, in a way of like being a couple, it's like date night. Yeah. Every other week, like, no, we're gonna have dinner and with other friends and other things too. But like, we're not allowed to talk about Beny. Okay. And we just like have to be with each other. And
it's kind of like putting your phone away. Exactly. Like it's like a restricted time of just like you guys are friends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because let's be clear, that's how this all came to be, is like we are best friends. We were both talking about our quarter life crisis. We have all these conversations, and those things are really important. We pushed each other to do this. How do we make sure we keep pushing each other outside of what Beny Yogurt looks like to grow in our own personal ways too?
I love that. I feel like also some of the best friendships are ones that like you can grow together.
Yes.
And like you're pushing, and it sounds like you guys are really complementary in terms of like even like your traits and like what you bring to the table, which makes it even better.
Totally.
That's so nice. I'm so glad that you guys have each other to build it, because I also feel like building a company is fucking hard. So like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Thank God. Every single day we're like, thank goodness for each other. Like, no, it's just like you can go crazy. You can
you can
really go crazy, and you can overthink decisions, and you can, I don't know, just there's so many things that you just want.
There's so many moving pieces.
Yes.
Right. So
no pun intended. You need a gut check on things, and like,
dude, gut check, so good.
So good.
So good.
So good. So yeah. So that's the beauty.
I love that.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a yogurt break right now.
Oh my God! Yay!
We're gonna be sampling some Beny.
Yes,
like,
we will
right now, which is so exciting.
Kind of nervous. So fun. That's such nice packaging. Really? This is totally like our MVP, just because.
No, but you know why I like it so much?
We're not at scale.
Because like the blue, like the like design is so well done.
We love our designer. The design is well done. Do you hear that, Charlotte? The design is really well done.
Of course.
Oh my gosh, what a treat. I get to try my own yogurt.
How fun.
You guys do not even understand. My other CPG founders will know that, but like product is always in shortage. Everyone asks like, don't you have so much yogurt at your house? No, I have no yogurt at my house. It is all being sold to other people, and we're always in a shortage.
She's one for the people, guys. She's one for the people.
Yes.
Okay. Should I try it?
Yeah, try it.
Okay.
Wait. Can I film it at the same time?
Oh my God, of course. Beny?
Yeah.
All right, let's try it.
Reaction brand.
That's so fucking good.
This is your podcast or your thing. Good.
Wait, this is so good. It's like actually good yogurt.
I hope so, girl.
Wait, like, how do you use the yogurt? Like, what do you usually put it on? Or like, what can you make from it?
So many things.
I feel like it's so versatile.
I'm such a yogurt girl. Well, first of all, I think it's an amazing snack, so I'll just have it like this, plain.
Mm-hmm.
I love it with blueberries. I'm not a big granola person, but I know.
Hot take. All right.
I know.
I'm not mad at you for that.
It's okay. It's more like I'm trying to watch my sugar intake, so I like
You're
don't
just
eat.
yeah, I get that.
I know. It's like embarrassing. Whatever.
You know, it's kind of like you got the sugar from where you actually want it from, right?
Totally. I'm a dessert person for sure, but it's like okay. No, I usually have our yogurt, blueberries, and sometimes a little peanut butter. Big fat person, so I love that. I love
I'm a big fat.
This is full fat, so just which makes I think the flavor a lot better. I also love savory yogurt, so I'll take this olive oil, lemon juice, a bunch of salt, fresh grated garlic, mix it together, and that's like an incredible dip on top of You could do like a chickpea kale thing. You can have it with that. You could have it with like chicken. I make a lot of tofu. I mean, and you can spice this anyway. I just made some.
This feels like it could be like a labneh too.
Exactly.
Right?
And I made some with harissa, and I like mixed it together, and it's really good because the yogurt like cuts the spice.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's like endless possibilities here. And
cheers to that.
High protein, which we all love high protein these days.
That is true. So, is this Greek yogurt?
Yes,
it is. Okay. Amazing. Oh, I'm going to use this for my protein intake. I love that.
Sick.
Amazing. Let's talk about fundraising and your funding journey with Eat Beny. So, what does that look like? So, you mentioned that you and Elan have like bootstrapped. So, what are your plans for getting funding? What does your exit strategy look like at this current moment?
Yeah. We have bootstrapped, and let's be super clear, we're very early on. We have not achieved any kind of success. So we are going to continue bootstrapping. We are definitely going to, what that like actually looks like is we're going to bootstrap at our first production run. And so when we need to go to a factory, do our first production run, put it into grocery stores, like we are funding that all ourselves. And we would like to continue for quite a bit of time. We don't have a specific metric on what we want, when we would need capital, but our goal is fundraising. Fundraising in a lot of world is particularly like the VC and the much more of like the tech scene often can be viewed as a metric of success. Like you have achieved because you've raised this much money. We don't see it as a metric of success. We see it as a tool to grow our company. And so we could use that tool whenever we want. Right now, we don't feel like we need to use that tool. And so we're open to doing it down the line. And we'll definitely be looking at strategic partners who are great people who can help us, aside from just the money, but also help grow us and who know the industry and those types of things. But it's just a tool for us. So we don't actually.
I don't think that's talked about enough.
I know.
People are like, oh, like you need to get funding. But like there's a great power in also just like being able to fund yourself and knowing when's the right time to take on funding. Because if you take it too early, you might be pushed like a power horse to get like the type of multiples
and diluted.
Exactly, right? Because like the shares of your company, you want that form of autonomy, which is super crucial.
Totally.
So like, do you see yourself? I know for CPG, like there's like an exit strategy is typically like being able to sell to a company or being able to sell your company to like a strategic partner. Is that kind of where you guys are going?
We are like
open.
Yeah. The way we think about it is like, we want to make Beny as successful as possible. And to us, success looks like getting it to as many hands as possible, making sure gut health is as sort of mainstream and accessible in your daily fridge as part of your daily yogurt. And so whatever that, path looks like we want to make sure that it can have the biggest impact. And in one way, maybe that is selling to a strategic in some way, a bigger company that can help that grow. But in others, it could just be maintaining and growing it ourselves. And really, so we are always sort of solving for that outcome of how can Beny have the biggest impact globally.
Yeah.
Nationally first. Let's start there.
Of course. But international, I feel like you got to dream big. Like
we got to dream big. Yeah.
Next we go to Mars. So you're going to have some yogurt out there.
Exactly.
Yay. Yeah, I like also that you said that success is kind of like subjective. Like, and I think we've also talked about that previously, where it's like people have these like standards for like what success looks like. Like, I get to sell like a unicorn, like I get to sell like $100 million company. And like sometimes I feel like going into something like you really need to ask yourself what that success metric looks like, because you don't I think sometimes it can be hard to stay grounded when you're like getting further and further, because like good things will happen to you as your company grows, and you want to make sure that like you were staying rooted in what you were looking for at the beginning.
I mean, honestly, like I know that we're going to go on our total journey and there's going to be really, really bad days and really amazing days. But just this week, Alana and I just both looked at each other and we're like, we are so happy. Like my boyfriend's like, Kiki, you're so smiley. And
I
Alon's,
can see you. Like,
no,
you're literally smiling so much.
I know. And Alon's girlfriend's like, you're a good mood girl all the time. And I think that that's super true. And we both look at each other and we're like, this is why we're doing this, because this is bringing us so much happiness. And it sounds so cliche, but it's like, we want to, back to the time is money, like we want to enjoy that time. We want to trade in that time in the best, highest possible use. And right now that's this, because it's making us so happy, and we need to hold on to that throughout the whole journey of like, why are we doing this? We're doing this because success looks like bringing this to scale and making sure more people have access to gut health, but also because we're going to really enjoy it and learn a lot along the way. Yeah. And so like that means holding hands and saying kumbaya together, like just remembering that that's what we're doing, and that's part of the success metric too.
Yeah. It sounds like you both have like a really strong why. And I feel like typically when you see, like, I feel like I've read so many books about this, but like companies that are searching for like money, like you can make money, but the why is really what not only makes you money, but also is something that brings like a community together. And I think especially when we're like so consumed by like the digital world, like having a physical community of people that are actually like consuming like a physical product, like bringing people together from that, fucking amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like in the most daunting way and the most exciting way, there's like endless amounts of creativity that you can have to do that. And that's like another huge and really fun part of this. It's like, how do you bring people together in a way that they feel included and excited about the mission that you feel so passionate about?
I know, it's kind of cool because you said you're like a rationalist, right? And I feel like coexisting, like there's like a logical, rational side to you, but there's also like this creative side, and you get to like merge them together while you build out.
It's really fun. It's very fun.
Yay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yay. So we are kind of closing out this interview, but we do have one more question. If you had a magic wand, what is one thing that you would change about this world?
Honestly, this is in my microcosm of a world, so don't get on me about this. I want more greenery and beauty in New York City. Like, I'm from California. I really miss the outdoors. Like, I knew what made me happy there. I could go on a hike. I could do all this stuff. And there's so many beautiful parts of this world. And, you know, they are now slightly endangered.
Freaking climate change.
I know. And so, anyways, New York is truly a concrete jungle, and there's a lot of wildlife, including rats and pigeons. But I would love to see other types of parks and beauty incorporated closer.
Actually, I know someone from school who's starting a company where he is planting a tree on every rooftop.
That's so sick. That's so cool.
There's a lot of stuff that people are trying to make happen. And congestion pricing, let's fucking go. Yeah. So
anyway,
yay.
That was my one thing.
That's amazing. It's an imminent time with climate change.
Exactly. Greenify our cities.
Yes, greenify them. Exactly. Urban planning. Yeah. But yay. Thank you so much, Kiki. This was so fun.
This was so fun.